not seen any of his interviews before. Wow. I mean, watching his discussion with Jaguar Wright, I got goosebumps. Shout out to the Real Life channel for that. The intersection, the trajectories, the parallels between both of their lives, working in the industry. And Jonathan has been a publicist, a record producer, and he was keeping it all in about the corruption. And then when he saw, as more of it came out over the years, he decided that he wanted to tell the world and join the activists. So we salute you, man. You salute your bravery, because another part of your story, home invasions, kidnappings, your daughter, though, you know, we can get to all that. But we appreciate you speaking out, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate the intro.
Could you tell us how you feel about the Jay-Z case getting dismissed first? Because I've not heard you talk about that yet.
To be honest, I'm not really sure about. I haven't really been paying attention. I've been finishing up a lot of different projects that that I'm into, but I did hear about it and was obviously disappointed.
All right, let's go back then and give the viewers an understanding of how you came into your profession, and how you came to meet Rihanna. If you could just take us through it as it happened.
So it was back in 2004, and I was in Orlando, Florida. I was working for Whitney Houston's father's company. It's called John Houston Entertainment. He had passed away, and we wanted to keep the tradition going of his name and his legacy, right? Whitney was still alive, but she was really, strung out on drugs at the time. So that's all the press wanted to talk about, was her drug use with Bobby. And, her record sales, as always, were starting to tumble. And we heard about this exciting artist named Rihanna. And I was on board. Like, the first time I saw her and heard her, I was like, okay, this is it. And then we worked on Pon de Replay, and the record took off, and she became a superstar.
Well, how old was she at that age? And did she have like the charisma, or was she?
When I came on the project, it was a bit dodgy. She was 16, and they didn't release Pon de Replay until she was 17. Like, it was released I put out the first press release in like the first week of March, and her birthday was in February, so it was a month later, and she was 17. And a lot of people say that's because that's when she was legal.
And would you say that the commodification of her began as soon as she was signed up? Something that Jaguar pointed out.
What's that?
So Jaguar, when you were speaking to her, she pointed out how as soon as people are signed up, they become commodities. Would you say that happened in Rihanna's case?
For sure, without question. She's so young. She's, she was 16 and then 17, right? And it's a different time. You got to think, that's 2005. It's 20 years ago. There's not social media. There's not, where artists are in control. Artists back then were very controlled, so to speak.
And here in the UK, there was a lot of horrific news about the way Bobby Brown was treating her. What was the backstory on that?
On Whitney?
Yeah.
To be honest, I think that was just like a lot of gossip and talk, because they were madly in love, and that's from me, like, being inside and seeing it. Of course, they'd have their fights like any normal couples, but from what I saw, she was you couldn't bully her around. She's a tough girl. She's from Jersey, she's tough. She'd bully Bobby around. She was probably the abusive one.
So as Rihanna's career was progressing then, what kind of work were you doing for her?
Publicity and marketing for the team and for Def Jam.
And when did she come into Jay-Z's orbit?
She became, when I got involved with her through her producers, she was already into Jay-Z's orbit because she was signed to Def Jam, right? And Def Jam was ran by Jay-Z. He had just split from Dame Dash and Rockefeller, and he became the president of Def Jam. And so when I got involved with her project, he was already involved.
And how would you describe the way he was treating her?
To be honest, I thought he was like a real let's see, I don't want to cuss. I thought he was a real dirtbag. And because he could have helped us in the very beginning, all we needed was like a quote. I had this contact with MTV News, and all he had to do was give us a quote, and they would have played the music video. And back then, MTV was everything, right? It was all about MTV. If you got on MTV, you know, there's only a few channels. It wasn't, you know, like it is now. And he wouldn't give us a quote to get the record played. So we had to go back door and do what we did. He was more focused on Tierra Marie and this rapper named Lady Silverine from the UK.
From the UK, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you got any questions about the Rihanna side of it, Tommy or Ron?
I do. I'm curious because there's been stories that when she first arrived in the U.S. that she was jetted off immediately, and I mean, there are stories that have been told that within 24 hours or a day or so of being here, she had already been sort of sold off. You know, that paper was being signed, and that Jay-Z was already trying to work her into something long term. There's even a clip out there where she talks about, you're going to sign this contract, or you're going out the window, and we're on the 37th floor or something along those lines. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, like he's going to throw her out the window, basically.
Yeah.
So I mean, her parents weren't around, and so she was with the team. So yeah, it was looking back on it now, it's like
amazing,
super weird, right? But then at the time, she was a client, and I was working for the producers. I really didn't think of how I thought of it now. I thought about, okay, this is a job. This is a job that I'm doing. I need to focus on like the press, but I really didn't focus on any of the other stuff,
And if I could ask one more question, when you, I think it was on one of those shows like Inside Edition or one of those where you came and made the
apology.
Sort of an apology. Yeah. Like a fall on your sword kind of a, I'm guessing that was probably written by the people that at Jay-Z's camp. Was that at their request? And did they promise you the world?
For sure. Both of those. Everything you just said is correct. They promised me the world, and unfortunately, I didn't get it. So I didn't even get a country in the world. They didn't do anything. So it sucked. Yeah. So I fell on the sword and then basically died. They didn't even get my body off the sword. They just left me there.
Checks out.
How long were you working with Rihanna for?
So with the camp, about a year, because it took off and she was a rocket ship. And when she took off, it was over. She was out. Her manager was fired. Everybody was fired. Even the producer was fired. They cleaned house. We were all fired.
So
and I was like, but wait, I thought I was special. I thought you were grateful of what I did.
So were you heartbroken then when that happened? Feeling a bit?
Yeah, because then you see her blow up and she's huge, and it's like, okay, now here I am sitting at home, working with Jay-Z's other artists like Tia Marie, who flopped, and everybody else. So it's like, and Lady Silverine, who I think was just trash. No offense, maybe you guys like her. But anyways, I was like, here I am stuck with all these artists, and this is an artist I helped launch. And now I'm like fired at home playing PlayStation.
How did you regroup from that?
What?
How did you mentally regroup from that?
So I just basically just kept working. We did like after that, the producer at the time, we did like Hillary Duff, And that kind of bombed. The same producer of Pond to Replay, our next project, he's like, all right, well, we're going to do Hillary Duff. It's like, who? Okay. So we did Hillary Duff and the song with love. And I was like picking perfume, right? For like the single, because with the single, we had to have perfume. And the perfume I picked, like, why would they ask me? Because they thought, oh, I'm the guy who broke Rihanna, that I guess I could pick perfume. And the New York Times like absolutely trashed our perfume. And I try to tell them, like, guys, why do you want me to pick the perfume? Like, ask a woman, you know, like, so I picked the perfume and it was bombed. And then that project was over. So then it's like, okay, Jay-Z, can you bring me back on board? Because this isn't working. So the next thing you know, the next project I started doing with Jay-Z was Tidal and Rock Nation. And that's when I made that public apology that you saw. That's like on Entertainment Tonight. I made that public apology. That's when I did that. Yeah. And they promised they were going to make me like they were going to make me the head of like Tidal, and you know, it was going to be amazing, and nothing happened.
It had that flavor. It had that flavor. Like you know, he needed to fix that for you know, for his girl and for the world, and you were going to be the one that got marched out. Kind of had that flavor.
Ron?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I'm just letting the time delay and let Tommy, you finish with your narrative because mine's like a 7-parter.
Oh God.
No, that was about it. It was honestly looking back through the lens of today, especially with all of the talk that we're talking about with Blake Lively and with everything that's going on, and what, you know, the role of publicists and how, you know, these things kind of play out. Going back and looking at that stuff, it just looks so scripted. It just looks like they were marching you out to take the hit because they didn't want to, you know, have to cope. And it's maybe we're getting smarter, or maybe it just looked really bad even then, and I wasn't paying enough attention. But it just looks awful.
Go for it, Ron.
For sure.
How are you doing, Jonathan?
It felt awful. It stopped.
All right. Okay. 1 second. We'll just let the
hey, how are you?
Okay. Hi. Yeah. Hi, Jonathan. I'm Ron. Really pleased to meet you. I wanted to ask you some questions about a couple of people that are in Hollywood. One especially that circulated around Rihanna, and that was a lady called Michelle Lamy. Have you had any interactions with Michelle Lamy? Have you seen her around, or have anything that you can fill us in on? Because she's quite a character, right?
I know the name and I know of her, but I've never dealt with her personally.
Okay, that's fine. Have you ever met or dealt with Abramovich on any occasions?
Abramovich? No, I have not.
And there was something that you'd said in one of your interviews about being at an event where there was a large statue. I believe it was a Baphomet statue. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Correct.
Can you just go into that a little bit about us? What was the event? Where was it positioned? Was it in the public, or was it sort of kept away? It would be great if you could touch on that for us.
So that was a Rock Nation party. It was in New York, right, during Christmas time. And so I think, you know, their Christmas wouldn't be, you know, Christmas. It'd probably be more Satan miss, you know. So it was like definitely a very weird event for Tidal and Rock Nation. It was in the basement of this museum in Manhattan, and it was just like really strange, you know, with all the different people and all, like, it was like really, really out in the open about what it was, you know. So
yeah. And
it was definitely something that I'll never something I'll never forget. Just dark.
Just dark. Okay, well, last question before we circle back to some more of the more mainstream topical questions. How prevalent were these satanic references throughout parties or events that you went to, not just with Rock Nation, but anything associated within the Hollywood realm? Was it a prevalence that you sort of took you aback, or did it over time become something you were accustomed to?
No, so like when I came into business, I was working with like Days of the New, like a rock group, and we toured with like Metallica and Aerosmith, and we were with some, pretty we were with some people that they felt, that you would think would be like satanic and stuff like that, but it was nothing like,
Right.
These
Right.
Jay-Z people. It was like I thought Metallica was supposed to be wicked, and they were so professional. With their, they had 17 tour buses, right, that carry their merch. Like, we had our little van, carrying our merch with our little trailer behind us, and they would kind of look at us like we were amateurs because we were just starting. But like, it was so crazy to be like in these rap parties, and it was like the most like satanic stuff you'd ever seen. You'd expect it from the rockers, but it wasn't. It's weird.
Right. It's the ones you least expect it, right? Ones you would least expect it from.
Yeah,
I would
exactly.
imagine. And sorry,
Exactly,
Angela, I'm going
yeah.
to partially steal your question. Can you give us your impression on Clive Davis, and then I'm going to tap out and let circle back to Sean. What's your impression on Clive Davis?
Clive Davis?
Yeah,
he's like one of the worst people in the world.
Interesting. All right.
Like when Whitney Houston died, he just went on with the party. He went on with the party.
Yeah.
While she's dead, while her body's dead in the hotel, he went on with the party.
Can I ask you a question? Did you ever see him smoking cigars? Clive Davis.
Who? Clive Davis?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
All right. That last question helped more than you can imagine with something. So I really appreciate that, Jonathan. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Side Chat. I'll circle back when I have some more mindless questions, and you all can look forward to that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll circle back around. But no, dude. Honestly, yeah. Yeah, it really does. So I appreciate that, brother. Because I googled it today, and there's
what's with the cigar?
Well, somebody asked me today if Clive Davis smoked a cigar because they have reason to believe that a man smoking a cigar is Clive Davis. And all day today, I'm googling Clive Davis cigar. Couldn't find anything on the internet of him holding one, smoking one. So I thought the first opportunity I have for somebody who can identify Clive Davis in person smoking a cigar, I'll ask, and it was you. And I appreciate that, brother. I really do.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's like his son, Fred Davis, that group I told you about, Days of the New. Yeah. He was one of the people that was influential of us getting our record deal with Geffen and Interscope.
Well, I spoke to someone today who described a man.
So yeah, I thought.
Sorry, Jonathan, the delay's killing me here. I do apologize.
Sorry, was that me?
No, there's a slight delay. No, the only reason that I'd asked.
So like I was saying.
All right, I'm coming in. So we've got almost 1,000 people watching live right now. I'm here with Jonathan Hay. We've got his links for his Instagram, his links for his X are in the description box. I'll put them in the live chat as well if you want to support his important work. And if you've not seen his conversation with Jaguar Wright, it's fascinating. Like I said at the beginning, it gave me goosebumps, the parallels, and how Jag inspired Jonathan to speak out and expose some of these monsters. Speaking of, so you had a very interesting Zoom conversation with Diddy during the pandemic, I believe. If you could elaborate on that, and regarding the substance that Diddy was referring to, he was recommending to you, let's just call that K or Special K, something like that.
The horse tranquilizer.
Yeah,
the horse tranquilizer.
K. Let's just call it K. Yeah, K.
Yeah.
So what happened on that Zoom? What happened on that Zoom?
Well, so Diddy felt, and it was more than the Zoom. That was just me trying to. I was like the first time I've like done these interviews, right? The first one I did was Tisa Tells, and then Jaguar saw me on Tisa Tells, and then she was like, she had me do the blue couch. Like, I've never done no stuff like this. Like, I obviously you can still see I'm like slightly awkward and uncomfortable and like weird, you know. But so she like, you know, threw me out in the fire, and which is you know, I'm very grateful for that. But yeah, so I was just like, I didn't even know what I was talking about. I felt like I was on the horse tranquilizer in a K-hole myself when I was doing the interview, because I was so like shook. But anyways,